live from your home with the hottest news on Beats headphones. You're listening to Techies Talking Tech 19, colloquially known as T4. I'm your host, Trey Comstock, and I am joined as ever by Jimmy Principe.
Hello, Internet.
And it is Wednesday, May 6th, 2015, and this is the show where, as the intro may kind of give you a clue, this is like hard rock, man. This is like the it's the more unplugged reviews show, companion to Tech's Last Call, the news-focused show. This is where we have a little more space to
This is where we unwind, kick back.
Yeah, and talk about the things we're actually using and what matters and what makes a difference about them and what we're complaining about. And yeah, it's the review show.
It's the review show,
which it's going to continue in this format for a couple more months, and then sometime in July, beginning of July, we're probably going to go on hiatus for a couple weeks and unveil this show's new form, which will hopefully be an all video version of the show. This will become. Rather than a podcast where we awkwardly try to describe things, this will be a weekly video show with high production values.
Short form content of high production value for the internet.
Actually, this won't be short form. This will be long form content. We need to work on our short form content strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not wrong about that.
I seldom am. So, all of that is to say, this is T4. We've been on hiatus for a month and a half.
I hope you all missed us.
Not to develop a new show, but for me to try to stay alive.
For Trey not to fail college.
Yeah, I had to, graduate from graduate school. And that involved a lot of technical, because since my graduate thesis was a documentary, that involved a lot of vast technical challenges that I didn't anticipate. One specifically is my MacBook Pro that I've been using for years cratered 2 days before the documentary premiered. We were in.
I'm sure that wasn't a problem.
Oh God! So I had gotten it to a manageable stage. We weren't screwed, but none of the. So it was.
Let's see if I can find the text I got from you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You should find it. The short answer is I had gotten it up to the point where we had everything but translations of the Spanish in the second half of the documentary. So the first half of the documentary just needed to be exported, rendered down. The second half of the documentary needed subtitles, basically. And that was it. And the translations came through on the weekend, and I was going to sit down Tuesday night with the premiere on Thursday evening. Load in, spend 6 hours-ish loading in subtitles. It takes time, but it's relatively mindless work. Do some final checks on Wednesday, and then Wednesday night render it all down. Easy peasy, no problem, right?
Right.
Sit down to start working Tuesday night, and the MacBook Pro doesn't boot up. So I futz with it for a while, and it's still not booting up. And now, this wasn't like a data retention issue. The documentary only exists on two external hard drives, with all the files backed up to the workstation. So the documentary wasn't gone, but the ability to edit it was gone, because I edit in Final Cut, not in Premiere.
Right.
If I
not like you could leverage the machines that you have sitting there.
Right, which I am sitting here on a Xeon Dell workstation with an ATI FirePro graphics card with, by the way, Premiere Creative Cloud already loaded on there.
See?
And so if I edit it in Premiere, I have two PCs here that could do it. I didn't edit in Premiere. I edited in Final Cut. And I was hosed. So I got to the Apple Store right when it opened, which, by the way, is 10 a.m., which is unacceptably late.
That's how I feel about Best Buy. Anytime we need to go to Best Buy, I'm like, I'll just go there before work.
No, you won't.
10 a.m.
Right. Like, you don't understand. Like, you sell mission critical computers. And I was going to buy a new MacBook Pro this year anyways, but I was waiting for the new ones to come out. Intel hasn't released the quad-core mobile processors yet, and so this is not a good time to buy a MacBook Pro because they're about to get revved. I had to buy a year-old PC.
Right.
But I had to buy it. I mean, the damn thing needed to get edited. I didn't have a whole lot of choices. I couldn't sit in it. I tried. Emory has some high-powered 27-inch iMacs available with Final Cut, but they're the older ones that don't have Thunderbolt.
So you couldn't connect the drive?
So I couldn't connect the drive. So that was a problem. And so I needed a computer, and so I walked into the Apple store and basically said, give me the best MacBook Pro you can sell me, which is a Core i7, like 2.8 gigahertz quad-core processor.
Did the guy's eyes like pop out of his like?
Yeah, the woman who was helping me looked at me like, what? It's like, no. So it's with the terabyte of flash and 16 gigabytes of RAM. Like, it's the most expensive laptop Apple will sell you at an Apple store. And I bought it. Like, just 9 minutes. 9 minutes to drop, whatever it was like. With Apple Care, it was like, and the student discount, it was like $3,600. I dropped that in, seriously, 9 minutes. And most of that was waiting to rummage around the back for the one of these they keep in stock. Because who walks into an Apple store and is like, I
want the one.
Right. And I was so close. I looked at the price, and it was very close to a Mac Pro. But I couldn't do it.
Because it's not portable.
It's not portable. That's what I kept going back to, is like, in the end, I love the Mac Pro. I start to agree with you that its upgradability is mostly mythical. Mostly. Especially in terms of graphics. Its storage is upgradable, because that's what I do. I edit off of Thunderbolt drive. So I don't think its storage, the upgradability of its storage is a myth, but the upgradability of its graphics is a myth.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the troubling side. Because in my Dell workstation, I can swap in a new Fire Pro graphics card whenever I want.
Right.
Or I could swap in a more traditional graphics card, which we're about to do in one of our workstations, I think, for the new studio. Get an
and they're not expensive.
Right, get an NVIDIA 970 and be good to go. So here's what I've learned. Although specs haven't changed much, 2.3 gigahertz to 2.8 gigahertz in both quad cores, this laptop is a lot faster than my old one. Like a lot faster than my old one.
Like night and day faster?
Like night and day faster. The old one was really bogged down under the weight of a 70-minute documentary. This one, I eventually managed to bog it down, but it was after like 6 hours of continuous editing, which, okay, fine. But it was a lot harder to bog this one down. Its render times are so much faster. It can handle so much more. The Retina display for editing means I can view more on screen. I can do a 100% preview window and still have a lot of space for my timeline. This Retina, let me think about this. I have a Retina display on my Surface, but I hadn't had a Retina display on my MacBook yet. This is a powerful machine. I wish I didn't have to pull the trigger when I did, because I would love to see what Apple's going to do with the new MacBook Pros, particularly because I think they're going to put in a lot better graphics card.
You know they're going to put in a better graphics card, but the goal is always to buy the best computer you can whenever you have to buy a computer.
Right. And my other fear is if they upgrade to 32 gigabytes of RAM, I'm going to be really mad. Because, I have 16, which is twice what I had before. I'm not complaining. I took my old MacBook Pro in to be repaired today because it's all over. I finished the documentary. I finally have space in my life, and so it's like, okay, fine. The church I work for needs a computer with a discrete graphics card. It's like, oh, I have one of those that I'm not using, so let's get this one repaired. $300. The graphics drivers tanked everything. The guy at the Genius Bar was like, oh, well, that's real bad. Because he was like, oh, it's probably just the file system got corrupted. Oh, no. This is going to take 5 days.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, never mind. So it's really bad. Oh, speaking of Apple products that I bought. So on the same day that my MacBook Pro tanked, I was very upset. And I went to Best Buy.
So you went shopping to
I
make
went
yourself
shopping.
happier.
And I have had my eye on these Beats these green Beats
the
headphones.
beautiful
the Royal
green
Edition
Beats.
ones. Beats Solo 2s. For a long time. Mostly because of the color. This is my favorite color. And I saw them on sale at Best Buy. And then I bought them. And now I have both of the pairs of headphones that I leave the house with are Beats. This is a problem. This is morally reprehensible. I'm not going to wear these every day, time on the show, but I felt like I had to wear them to. Really,
Yeah, I mean, they really communicate you're buying into the full Apple experience.
You have no idea. So in my defense, I'm going to go back to the same point I made when I bought Beats earbuds. Beats gets it, man. They get it. Do these sound great? No. I paid $160 for these. 160, 170 bucks. Less than $200 for these. Do these sound equivalent to other things in this price range? No. Are they cool looking? Yes. They also don't sound terrible. They don't sound great, but they don't sound terrible. They are good enough. And they're fashionable. And it turns out that fashion matters in headphones.
Are they actually fashionable, though?
No. I mean, look, Jimmy, if I was 19 years old now.
And a masturbating 12-year-old, yes.
If I was starting college, so I started college when I was 19. If I was starting my collegiate journey now, yeah, I would be one of those people walking around in Beats headphones. I absolutely would be.
That's true.
Or I'd be walking around with my ATs.
You would be.
Right? I would be. I absolutely would be. It is only because I am 29 years old, and I think or almost 29. I'm still 28. I'm almost 29 years old. I'm aging myself. And I think the idea of walking around with cans on your ears is a dumb idea. I walk around with earbuds in. But if I was younger, I absolutely would, because it is a fashion choice. You can debate whether it's a fashion choice you like or not. And I think that's totally viable. And I think it says something kind of troubling about our culture, but so do my earbuds. They just don't communicate the message quite as strongly, like, go to hell, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the large headphones. So I actually used to use earbuds at work, and then I switched to large fuck-off headphones for 2 reasons. One, the earbuds were very good at blocking out noise, so I couldn't actually hear when people were trying to get a hold of me. And two, the larger headphones were excellent at telling people to leave me alone.
Sure. And so on some level, that's probably not a good thing, right?
Right.
As a theologian as well as a tech commentator, we spend a lot of time talking about like the disconnected nature of society, and it's not really within the scope of this show. But I have a different show for that. That also needs to get relaunched. But I get it, and on the right person. So I regularly see people who have matched their headphones. So I saw a undergraduate woman the other day who had matched her shoes, her headphones, and the case of her laptop, all in the same turquoise. You know what?
Work.
Sure. Welcome to sorority life.
I call that a problem with fashion in general.
Sure. Absolutely. But you understand that you thinking that too much work is also a fashion choice.
Yes.
Laziness is a fashion choice. It's all a choice. This is an existential choice. This is perhaps a choiceless choice. By choosing not to choose, you are choosing. This is deep.
We're getting real deep.
Yeah, it's philosophy. Unlike many tech commentators, I can talk about philosophy. Thank you very much. Same way I feel when tech journalists delve into political science. I'm just like, shut up. Shut up. It's not how this works. It's not how any of this works.
Hey, that's why I brought up the Sherman Act on the last show.
Hey, no, you did. It was a good use of the Sherman Act.
Because the tech commentators would not point out why maybe Apple wouldn't be allowed to do what they were doing because Sherman Act.
Yeah, well, it's what the Sherman Act is trying to avoid two things: collusion and dumping. Dumping's not going to be an issue. In fact,
also,
what I proposed on that show is that Apple does dump, right? Just make it all free or buy Spotify.
Just go.
Like, just buy Spotify. Like, there's an easy answer to all of Apple's problems.
Apple's solution to everything.
No, it's not, though. Apple develops their own things in ludicrous ways. Buy Spotify. They've never been... I mean, look, they don't even develop their own cloud architecture. It runs on Azure, right?
Or their own headphones.
Or their own headphones. Oh, they did? And then they bought a headphones company.
And they bought a headphones company. Ever.
I went from, like... this is a sad state of affairs.
It really is.
I've now bought 3 pairs of Beats headphones. My
Klipsch S4Is are around here somewhere.
Look, Jimmy, I killed one of those every 6 months. My Beats made it 8 months.
Oh,
hey, for me that's pretty good. And part of it is Klipsch left me, right? The what is it? The R6Is just aren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
They sound good, but that we talked about before. The cable is flat and just conducts every little noise every time you move. And I walk around with these things every day.
Yeah,
that's not tenable. The Beats are comfortable. Even these, although they pinch my little baby ears, they pinch a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I like the big cups for over ear.
Yeah,
because that way there's no pressure at all.
Beats doesn't make those in green.
And now we all know what Trey actually cared about.
But look, and Beats make headphones that match my iPhone, and that got me to buy those too, right? Like, I have my white and silver Beats to match my white and silver iPhone. It's genius. You can and probably should hate them, right?
Yes, I do.
They're not as good as their price. They're not. And Apple products aren't usually like that. Usually Apple products are overpriced. But you're buying a certain build quality and a certain design aesthetic. That's expensive, right? You build something out of all aluminum, a single piece of billet aluminum and all of this, and the price is going to go up. I can buy a more powerful Dell workstation or a similarly powerful Alienware for less money. But then you're carrying around an Alienware.
Then you're carrying around what is just a desktop computer with a screen.
No, what they actually used. We've talked about this before, I'm sure. Maybe not on this show. My favorite era of laptop. I have one where they thought we need high-end laptops for gaming. This is the beginning of the gaming laptop thing, and they said, okay, we'll take a desktop class Pentium 4 processor and stick it in a laptop.
Because we want to melt through the lithium-ion battery.
I mean, they were literally 3 inches thick. If I felt like getting up, I could show you. Like, they're 3 inches thick, and had the biggest batteries you've ever seen and no battery life. Because these aren't mobile processors. These are Pentium 4 hyper-threaded processors.
They're designed for desktop applications.
Yeah, but dude, you could sit and we did this, you could sit in the break room at high school and be doing mad World of Warcraft or, straight up fragging people in Counter-Strike on break at full resolution. Oh, man. Like, that was pretty cool. My friend Alistair would literally do that. He had the Alien... this was before the Alienware purchase. What was Dell's high-end line called?
The XPS.
XPS, they still use it. So this is the birth of the XPS line. He had a Dell XPS.
The early XPS stuff was when Dell kind of said, we're not going to make just crap.
Right. Right. And so he had like a Dell XPS, and he would sit there at break playing Counter-Strike online.
Those XPS, that XPS one was pretty good.
And he was like a huge dude.
Pretty
Right? Like
good.
Alistair's like 270 pounds, my height 270, like 5'10", 270. And so he's this big dude with this big backpack with this even bigger laptop. It was amazing. I bought years later. I bought a Dell 9300, which is the same chassis but the non-XPS branded, so it didn't have the graphics card. I bought it just to have one because those were ridiculous machines. That's a gaming laptop, but in some ways, Alienware is still that for the modern age. And I look at them periodically and I go, yeah, and then I'm like, I'm not going to LAN parties. What I need is something where I can like carry it on an airplane and edit and yeah.
You need something that you can carry.
Right. Absolutely.
Not
lug. I need to be able to travel relatively light, to throw it all into my Timbuktu backpack and go. Yeah. The original Dell X, if you don't know what we're talking about, look it up online. It's one of the more ridiculous laptops you've ever seen. Because it's literally 3 inches thick. It's beautiful for what it is. Oh, it was beautiful. It has a subwoofer built into the battery. No joke. The subwoofer was built into the battery.
Because they're crazy people.
And they still had no battery life. Blink and it's over. But it didn't matter. Alistair was playing full-on Counter-Strike at lunch.
It was still one of those things where you're just like, I need this.
Oh, yeah. Luckily, like, I could play with Alistair's, and this is back when I had access to a fair amount of PC hardware in my life. And I had, like, a piece of junk laptop because I was using it for, like, organizing Boy Scout events. And I wasn't gaming on my laptop. We had gaming PC. We had gaming desktops and a frag box for that. But, man, I thought that... I really thought at the time that this was the pinnacle of existence. That you could just sit at break. And it's like the time I was in a hospital and there was a guy with like an Alienware 18-inch laptop playing WoW in a hospital waiting room. I was like, yeah, okay.
And then you were like, that's why the Wi-Fi is crap.
That's why the Wi-Fi is crap. That guy. And I guess in these days it wouldn't so much be WoW. It's probably be your Dotas or your League of Legends.
Oh, yeah.
Although I understand my brother was playing it. Dota was around. Defense of the Agents mod for Warcraft 3. Thank you. I know. But it's MOBAs are just on a whole different level. They are esports.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably if I was a kid these days, I'd be walking around in my Beats headphones and I would probably be a MOBA player. I would probably be a MOBA player. It's my,
You MOBA beast.
Yeah, I'm too old and slow.
MOBA beats.
My brother, who I am related to, but who got all of the Twitch reflexes in the family, is really good at them. Like, really good. But I probably, I'm going to watch the International. It's in a few months. It's coming up. I'm excited. I liked it last year. The big Dota tournament, the International. So Jimmy, what do you got?
So I got a new phone.
Yes. Right before we went off air.
Yeah. The Galaxy S6 Edge.
I see that.
There's the Edge.
I see the Edge.
And
kind of shows up.
On recommendation from a colleague, I took the plastic case I had on it off, and now you can't go back. Once you felt the metal and glass, you can't go back.
Story of my life.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I keep buying Apple products. You can't
go
back to plastic.
So yeah, I mean, it's a great device. Minus one thing, but
What's
I'll get to
minus? That. Okay, talk me through this device. What makes it
so great? I always forgot that Samsung had that IR blaster thing on the top of so that's what the little black dot is. It's an IR blaster. I forgot that it was there, so they added that in the S4 as a feature.
That sounds right? Yeah.
And then no one cared, so they didn't talk about it anymore. But they kept including it.
That sounds like Samsung.
So,
when in doubt, leave it in.
Exactly. 16 megapixel camera.
And make it out of plastic.
Yeah, 16 megapixel camera. A little bit of a bump there on the back. Not much.
Let me tell you about camera bumps. You haven't seen camera bumps until you've owned a Lumia 1020.
Curved glass screen. It'll do the you have to do this really stupid. Let's see if I can get it to work. Oh, there it
I
goes.
see it.
Yeah, it'll pop up the.
So it's basically like Glance.
That's
on
like
Lumia
Glance.
phones.
They have a night mode where
I have Glance on
Yeah.
my Lumia 1020. And also, if
Yeah,
you want
but-
to see the camera bump,
yeah, no, that thing is ridiculous.
this. You think that's a camera bump? I can't get out of the damn case. There we go. This is a camera bump.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the complaints people made about the iPhone 6 Plus's like little camera bump. You see that just like the little bit, and then compared to that is just it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, so works good. Heart rate sensor works.
Really?
Yeah, it
So
works.
where on the phone is the heart rate sensor?
It's right here.
And so, what do you?
So
what's
so
the
here.
idea? Can you? Okay, this is an important question. Can you send me your heartbeat as a text message?
No.
Jimmy, what is this even for?
You don't have a. It's part of the replacing fitness bands. I'm convinced
Yeah, but
because they can.
sure, yes, but
This is because they can.
see,
They added a little bit to the flash in order to be able to do heart rate monitoring.
Steve Jobs would have said no, and
Samsung
Steve Jobs
always-
would have been right.
Samsung always says yes.
Right, that's part of Samsung's problem. Although, oddly, by saying yes to a lot of things, they also made that a fantastic phone.
So yeah, so the heart rate monitoring, like it's there, but once again, this is something they added in the S5.
Yeah.
So this is a carryover from a previous phone. Really, the story here is the machined aluminum, the curved glass screen, which is the most interesting thing about this phone. And then it's materials, and then a good materials built around an overall good phone.
Do you find yourself using the stuff on the curve to make it
No.
actually worthwhile?
No,
Okay.
not at all. That being said, the Android 5.1 update for the S6 and the S6 Edge has been kind of leaked. T-Mobile, I think, accidentally pushed it to some phones.
Okay.
Or they posted it somewhere or something. Someone got a hold of it. They were through T-Mobile, and they were looking at it. And it looks like Samsung. The rumors are that Samsung is going to add more stuff with the Edge because the S6 Edge is selling at higher rates than they thought it would.
Interesting.
So-
Look, that's what we all were saying off the bat. That's probably the phone to have.
It's the most interesting phone. It just it needs more apps for the Edge. The other problem is that I can't use the actual Edge thing because I don't use the native Samsung messaging app. I use Hangouts.
Right.
And so I can't tell it, hey, if I get a Hangouts message from this person, then light up the Edge. So even though, you and Kate and my other Fab Five all are on the Edge, it's only when you call and it's face down that I see it.
Okay.
So it's set
And then
up.
promptly ignore it.
Yeah, it's set up. So there's some stuff that like I had on previous Samsung phones I've forgotten about that I like. I do actually like how the app tray works with the icons along the top for quickly controlling, like muting the phone, turning off location. That's stuff that was starting to get baked into vanilla Android. But the way that Samsung presents it is pretty good. It works pretty well. So this is actually the first phone I've had where the auto brightness actually picks the right brightness.
Wow.
So that's cool. It's like right in the range. And then if you turn on power saving mode, it will put it to the lower end of what's acceptable. So sometimes like in bright sunlight, you might be like, it's very difficult to read. And then you realize it's in power saving mode. So the biggest problem with the phone though is, and this has come out in recent weeks, is that Samsung has a memory management problem with, I think it's specifically with TouchWiz.
So memory is in terms of RAM or memory is in terms of hard drive space?
As in terms of RAM,
Okay.
which causes the phone to run really slowly. So here, let's see if I can
So
get
like
this.
old Chrome.
So yeah, so like if I click on my, okay, that actually loaded up pretty quick. We just open a bunch of shit. I was having problems with apps like crashing, and Flipboard's a good one. Flipboard takes a little bit to load. Oh, of course, now that I'm trying to show it off, it's not working.
Live demos, yeah.
Live demos, man.
Let me tell you about live demos.
But like, here, let's see, Chrome. It looks, God, yeah, no, it's not.
Well, it's
not gonna
memory
cooperate
leak
this
issues is also not just amount of things open, but it's amount of things open over time.
Right.
So it's hard to demo in the moment because it's about memory leakage. As I understand it, it's memory leakage over time.
Right, and that's so I've been handling this by just restarting the phone whenever it starts running slow, and that clears out the memory cache.
Yeah, you grew up using Windows 95. We all
Exactly.
know how this works.
You just restart the phone.
Which is, by the way, also the solution for Dreamliners, the 787. You need
Yeah.
to restart periodically, or the generator is going to fail in air. Turn it back off and turn it back on again.
We call that a feature.
Yeah.
Look, as a child of the 90s, I know how to operate that device.
So
You reach to the I/O switch on the back of the computer and you flip it, and you wait 5 seconds, and you flip it back, and it turns back on. You're good to go. This is also the memory leak problem with Chrome, where you just have to close. Chrome still has a memory leak. Let's be clear.
it's just not as bad as it used to be.
It used to be like, oh yeah, it used to be so bad.
Oh yeah.
It was just, it used to be so bad it would just take over all of the RAM.
Yeah.
Didn't matter how much RAM you had, it would take over all of it.
Right, like Final Cut, but Final Cut's supposed to do that.
They now have made it so I think that it'll hit a certain point and Chrome will start limiting the amount of RAM it'll take.
That's
it'll kill the process.
Sure.
But yeah, so other than that, which is supposed to be, Samsung's supposed to be working on a fix that's going to roll out with the 5.1 update.
Okay.
Which should solve that problem. It's a fantastic phone, high quality materials. It's an interesting shape that's actually like interesting in a useful way. And you had hands-on time with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you picked it up and you said, Samsung could have had a perfect phone. And you pointed out that the slight, like if you're looking at it face on, you can see the silver edge here.
Yep.
It's a slight lip right there. And you were pretty down on it, but then you changed your tune a little bit.
Yeah. So here's the thing: my iPhone 6 Plus flies out of my hand at unreasonable velocities. Quite frequently, it just flies out of my hand, flies out of my pocket, and it's because it is beautifully smooth and beautifully round with no edges to grip. And so when I hold the Galaxy S6 Edge, it is that little lip.
It gives you a little lip to hold on to.
It makes it much easier to hold onto in the hand. It feels it feels more noticeable than it looks. At least to my touch.
No. It does. You can definitely. Your hand knows that that's where you need to hold on to the phone to make sure that it's nice and securely in your hand.
I mean, it's hilarious. It makes a difference. It doesn't ruin the aesthetic of the phone.
No.
And in some ways, it makes the phone look less like an iPhone clone. Right? Because it has this distinctive kind of piece of metal that is that grip going on.
Yeah, and all of the pictures are like of this little corner, right? Like, there you go. You can see it right there.
It honestly, kind of when we saw pictures of it and we were talking about it, we said this is kind of Samsung standing on its own 2 feet in terms of design. I think that's having had hands-on with that phone, I think that's absolutely true. It stands by itself.
And the other thing is that people have hated on the S6 for being just an iPhone 6 clone.
It's generic.
So it's an iPhone. Yeah, it's an iPhone 6 clone in that it's a 5-inch phone that is like it's the same exact form factor as the S5, just in glass and metal. It's a ripoff because they just use the same kind of idea.
I mean, it's not like the Galaxy S2 and 3.
The original Galaxy
and the original
phones,
Galaxy,
where it was just a copy of the 3GS.
It was so bad. That one is unoffensive. It's not an inspiring design, but it's not.
But
it's not so bad.
The one little design feature on it is that they did facet the side of it, so where it's curved, it's slightly faceted,
Yeah.
so that you can see, if you look at it on the edge, you can see that there's just a little bit of an edge there,
Yeah.
and that little bit of an edge solves your slippery phone problem.
God, the
It gives your
iPhone,
hand just enough grip to
the
hold on to
iPhone
it.
seriously just flies out of my hand all the time because it is so smooth.
And that was my concern with it originally, when I first held it. In that kind of, you hold it and it kind of went whoop.
Yeah, I have a bad gouge on my screen too. Anyways, I'm
So
taking it to the shop tomorrow because the
So-
volume button's not working.
we've been worried about like battery life on it. Battery life. So like today, for example, I didn't. So I have a rant against wireless charging, but um, the so I wireless charged it last night, and in my sleep, I knocked my nightstand a little bit, just enough that the phone shifted off the wireless charger, so that it didn't charge. So it only got up to about 60% charged before I left for work.
Okay.
And I listened to audiobooks and music on my phone all day at work. And so I got home. I went for a walk, got some dinner, got home. I was at about 5% battery. And then I plugged it in and charged it back up. But so I got through a full day. And I did plug it in while I was in the car because I was using Waze, but
Okay, that makes sense.
on the way to work. But its power management is better than my Nexus 5. So like when I would run Waze on the Nexus 5, it would slow and plug. I'm using the exact same plug that I used for my Nexus 5 that I'm using for my S6. On the Nexus 5, it would slowly tick down in power. On the S6, on my drive to work, which is not that long, I usually gain about 5% battery. So Waze is, or the S6 is doing something in the background, probably with location to try to save something, and that's with a higher resolution screen than the Nexus 5. So Samsung's worked out some really clever hardware or software tricks to push their hardware further. And it's resulted in and the turbocharger, that thing's no joke. Like it'll charge 50% of the battery in 30 minutes.
It's interesting to see the progress that Samsung has made in 1 year. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's on the design side. But again, I think there's an instinct within the tech reviewers and the tech press to go, oh, that's just visuals. Oh, that's just whatever. And I would like to hope that if Apple has proven anything to this industry, it's that matters. And that isn't just like some side thing to like, oh, we'll style it later with a crayon and a knife. Right? Like you need design, the holistic piece of the device. You look at this device all the time. You carry this device. These devices are as much statements about you as anything else. And so it can't just be, in the Android market, it cannot just be about raw statistics. It's either about price or it's about design.
Well, and that's what Samsung's realized with Xiaomi and all the other Huawei, everyone else coming up and stealing their thunder in the low end marketplace. They can't keep competing the way they have on just straight
Margins.
Yeah,
And
features
and price and having a device at every screen size, literally.
Yeah,
every screen size.
And so like going to something like this, and then they toned back on the kind of bloatware.
Yeah. A lot.
To make it so the phone runs better. Because like I said originally, my Galaxy S3 was ruined by Samsung.
Galaxy S3 as ruined by Samsung.
Because
so bad.
They pushed the update for the S4 and it became unusable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, because they overpowered, they just pushed so much crapware. That generation was really bad because they pushed all the stuff for their IR remote and this and that and the other thing and
ruined the phone.
Yep.
But hopefully they won't ruin this one. And on that, cheerful, positive note, we should probably get out of here. We will be back next week with more techies talking tech in
even tonight. Yes.
Even tonight. You have any feedback for us? If you have hands-on experience with any of these things and disagree with us or agree with us, podcast at textlesscall.com, facebook.com/textlesscall, pinterest.com/textlesscall, or at textlesscall on the Twitters. Good night. The bass is really great in my headphones.